Green means go.
Okay, let's pretend you just clapped, and here we go. No, you don't do it again. Don't do it again. Thank you, dear. Hi. I am so happy you're here. This is going to be, I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to stay for the whole thing. It's going to be fun. We are going to hopefully throw together a large pile of money today to build a house for one person. Interestingly, a blurb came up in the bulletin this morning I was not expecting, and I didn't plan. It just was sort of there. In the meditation after the sermon, it says this: faithfulness isn't always about taking big leaps, but also walking with small steps. And it's possible, here's where you start listening. Ready? I'll move over here. And it's possible to make a lasting difference in the world by tending to one small corner of it. Right? I'm given to using crude imagery, so forgive me, but I feel sometimes when you give money to some great cause, it's like peeing in the ocean to make it warmer, you know? Like, what's going to really happen with my money here? But we are not going to change the world, but we are going to change the whole world for one person, radically. We're going to give them a home. Just one person, but one person matters, just for one soul. We'll live in that home and sleep there and laugh there and eat there and all the things. So I'm very excited to have that privilege and that opportunity, and tonight we share that privilege with you. So let's play music. We'll start with some Bach, shall we? Oh, that's nice. I went to my first professional soccer game a while ago. No, I planned to stop there. I went to my first professional soccer game a while ago. I never liked soccer at all. It's, you know, they play for 2 hours and it's 1-0. And I'm more of a Bach concert. I'm the guy at the Bach concert who, you know, when they get like to the minuet, I'm going to rip my shirt open and I got a big blue B on my chest. And I get with my ACH buddies and we throw our beers in the air. You know, I'm more inclined to do that at a concert than at a soccer match. So there's a reason I'm talking about this, okay? And so I decided to learn a little more about soccer, and I learned a little more about soccer, and I enjoy it more. And I'm not to the fanatic level that I see all around me at these games, but I enjoy it more. And, you know, I bet if you knew a little more about Bach, you'd enjoy it more. Because I'm fanatical about Bach. I'm crazy, but I know a lot about it. Let's learn one little thing, okay? May we? Here we go. Now, so far, Bach has just established a sense of place. We are here. Not home. Right? All of music is about leaving home and coming back. All of music is a prodigal son story. You establish a place called home, you leave it and have adventures, and you come back. And it's nice. So after we've established a place of sense, which takes 4 seconds or so, Bach takes us on a little trip. And this is the part I'd like to share with you. He says, okay, we've done that. Let's put a little melody in. That's nice. Why don't we add a little something under it? Cool. But not that interesting. How about a counter melody? Maybe that melody is so linear, let's make something angular. Oh, that's nice. And we put those together and it's... Oh, that's much nicer, but still not especially interesting. So what if we took the counter melody and offset it in time by about 1/4 of a second? So instead of landing with the melody, it kept landing after it. And when you put it all together, I missed it. Can't do it in isolation. It makes this little this little twisty, turny, complicated thing, and Bach is packed with that stuff if you know where to look for it. So there are a few of those in this. You can listen for them. But there's so much interesting bubbling under the surface in this otherwise harmless sounding music. So enjoy. This is the minuet from the first partita by Mr. Bach. That's fun. Carrie, my pirate friend, come on up. I do have a list of 5 favorite hymns. This is solidly in the list. I love Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing because I just think it's kicking. And so I did an arrangement for pirate violin. I told her, play it like a pirate. I almost made her wear an eye patch. So here is, with my dear friend Carrie, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Wait. Good, Anita. We're going to play something very noisy for you now that doesn't need much introduction. Oh. We're going to play something very noisy for you now that doesn't need a lot of introduction. Some familiar hymns. This is the most Baptist moment in this whole thing. So if that's what you came for, soak it up. Because there's not much more of this after this. So. so much fun. You can tell when that one's over, huh? Real understated. I love it. That's fun to wail away on that black box every now and then. I'd like to introduce you to Brandon Yee. Now, a person you may not know, but Brandon is our church's interface with Mobile Loaves and Fishes and the Community First Village, where we have been involved as a church in building 100 houses already, and 600 more are to come. I was fortunate enough to be tapped on the shoulder by Dave Wheelock. Where's Dave? Yeah, there you are. Who knows why? Several years ago, he said, "Do you want to come build stuff with us?" And I was like, yeah. Because when you talk for a living like I do, it's really fun to get your hands dirty. And to be out like we were a little while ago when it was 33 degrees and windy, starting that, you missed that one, Dave, lucky. And just freezing our knuckles off, and one of the volunteers working with us said, "This is just a reminder of why we're doing this," right? And I thought, yeah, but it still hurt. Or breaking a sweat when it's 101 out and we're, sticking some boards together, but it's exciting and fun and just a great joy to do. Brandon's here to talk to you a bit about the organization, and then we're gonna take money from you in large amounts. So be ready, okay?
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be here, as well as my coworker Shane. We, wanted to just express from Mobile Loaves and Fishes just our incredible gratitude for First Baptist and everything that you guys have done. It is not a small feat to be able to build 100 houses. I think the exact number is closer to 104. But when I think about the role that you guys have played, I actually think that it is an incredibly impactful one for more than just one reason of just building the homes. So before I get there, though, my name is Brandon Yee. I recently got hired by Mobile Loaves and Fishes about 8 months ago. And prior to that, I was a pastor for about 10 years. And so this connection between churches and Mobile Loaves and Fishes is very, very special to me. Because I truly believe that for us to accomplish our mission at Mobile Loaves and Fishes, we need the church. And we need Christians in Austin to make it happen. I think in a lot of ways, depending on how you look at it, sometimes it would be nice to have this, but I actually firmly believe there's a need. And so I want you to know that you are needed. Not from a sense of guilt, but from a sense of when we ask people to build a house in 32-degree weather, who are the people that are going to choose to do that? When we ask people to build a house in 100-degree weather, who are the people that are going to say, we're still going to do that? When we ask people to come and spend time with our neighbors, even if they don't seem like they want anybody there, who is going to do that? And I really believe that comes from the Christians in Austin, that we get to set that standard here. And so part of my role is to go and reach out to different churches and let them know, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, we need you, but we'd love for you to partner with us. I think First Baptist is one of our best examples of what happens when a church partners with us, which is, the amount of team leads that you have here to build these homes is amazing. The amount of homes that you guys have actually built and credited to your name is incredible. And that's the kind of thing that we want to be able to do with other churches in Austin. And so that's, a huge part about why I'm here. But the other thing is, we actually really believe that there is a shift happening. And I started to see this when I was a pastor in how people see Jesus and how people see God, which is not just in something as incredible. When you hear something incredible, you really just think this is so amazing, it has to be from something more. But I think generationally, there is this swing towards seeing how does Christianity impact the world today? What are the actual palpable impacts that we can see that Christians are doing? And so what you guys are doing and even setting the standard for, I think is incredibly inspiring. I see a church that has a generation of people that have chosen to give and to love and to volunteer in a powerful way as an example for other generations as well. So I wanted to share that with you because that may not necessarily be evident to you right now, but that is something that we look up to, right? People that are my age look up and say, wow, what an incredible legacy these people leave behind, and something that I'd love to be a part of as well. And so, the future is incredibly amazing and bright and frightening. We are expanding to phases 3 and 4, if you didn't know. We currently have 406-ish formerly chronically homeless neighbors living at Community for Us right now. In 6.5 years, we're going to have capacity for about 1,800. Which some people are terrified by that number, and some people are very excited. I just love the nods, right, from you guys of just saying, this is an amazing thing we get to do. And, like Paul said, one life is so valuable. And this is one home in 18 to 1900, but this means so much to that one person and to the other people that will live there. And so we just wanted to be able to express our gratitude, let you know, obviously we're here to answer any questions, but you are just a part of that vision and purpose. When eventually, after 6.5 years, we're at the capacity that we're at, you will know that you played a significant part in that. And I wanted to share with you and just our gratitude, that first, we would not be where we are without First Baptist. And so we are incredibly grateful. And just, hopeful for what the future brings too. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. I am hoping that you came here tonight thinking, I'm going to give this much money, and maybe you're changing your mind and thinking you want to give more. I'm never shy about asking for money. Money's just a thing. But I'll tell you, before I taught high school, back when I lived in Washington, I taught middle school, and teaching 6th grade math, I learned the coolest trick. Did you know you can multiply any number by 10 just by putting a 0 on the end? That's so much easier than tripling what you thought you'd give, right? So, why do the complicated math? Just another 0. It's so easy. There are several ways you can give. You can write a check to the church. We're just going to pass through 100%. There are no expenses involved in this that we haven't picked up ourselves, or you can throw in some money, and if you look at the back of your program, there's a QR code you can zap and do that. So let's take a minute right now. We're going to have some people pass a plate. If you're just QRing, of course, you have no business with the plate, but give till it feels good, okay? First Baptist Church. And put on the bottom MLM. Okay. We'll know the checks we pick up today where they're going.
Paul, how much does it cost to build one house?
$25,000 built one house. Cost of a driveway, Yeah. That's The houses we build are for one person. Why not for families? Because we can't do everything for everyone. This is what we do, My blender won't make toast either, but I still have a blender. So we are building homes for single occupancy. And the homes are air-conditioned, heated, lit, insulated, beautiful, tiny homes. They are not plumbed. This is how we can build them for $25,000. But a few steps away are community facilities where people can do laundry and shower and toilets and so on, and getting water for cooking. There's community kitchens where they can cook. Everything you would need right there. It's on a bus line for people who have jobs elsewhere, and there are lots and lots of jobs on site, and many people are there on disabilities or something. And when we talk about low-cost housing, this is not the government chipping in a 15% discount on your, $1,600 apartment. These rents are very affordable pocket money for most of us. So I'm excited about that. Are there any other questions for me or Brandon? Yeah, Dave?
Just point out that the 100 houses we've been involved in, those have all been funded by other people, other groups.
Right. This will.
Our involvement has been for those groups to show up and we would help them assemble their house.
Yeah, what Dave is saying, we have given some sweat equity to this, but these have all been funded by, for example, a real estate office will pop down $25,000, and we send 3 or 4 people who know what they're doing out, we call them leads, and the volunteers then do all the work, and we lead them through it, in that case, a bunch of realtors. Or sometimes a grandpa will fund a house and invite the family and the cousins and the nephews, and that's really fun. It's very fun. So this is the first one we are funding ourselves, which means we'll be taking volunteers to build from our own flock here, and maybe you if you want to. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Okay, looks like we're done. Our next piece, you haven't heard. This piece reminds me of Hobbit music. It sounds like hobbits, bopping around the Shire in happy days. And you may be familiar with this. I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to play that. Sorry, Tom. I'm not going to play that one. I don't know that one. Everyone knows that one. I'm not going to learn that one. But in the suite of pieces that Mr. Debussy wrote, called the Suite Bergamasque, this is the one that comes right after that. So this is the one he wrote when he was older and smarter, I guess. He was actually quite young when he wrote these. Debussy had a younger period where he wrote sort of ultra-romantic, beautiful music like Clair de Lune, and then later he got into the more, this stuff. Stuff like clouds and ponds and running water and such. And actually, he hadn't published the Suite Bergamasque at age 37 or 8 or so. It was just some old stuff he wrote. And his publisher said, "Hey, this is money. Let's publish this." He said, "Okay, fine." And Clair de Lune became probably one of the 5 most famous piano pieces in the world. It's the one you think of when you think of Mr. Debussy. So this is the one after it. It's called Passepied, which is just a name for a little dance. Carrie's back. This time a piece from pre-Bach slightly. This is Mr. Arcangelo Corelli, who was making music in Italy, early 17th century. A suite, a series of variations on a theme. So you'll hear a pretty tune and then 5 or 6 different ways to imagine it.
Hold on, my pages aren't in order.
I love it when kids play. I always refer to it as the sound of music being born. It sounds different. It sounds awesome. This is Ella, Carrie's wonderful little girl. She's going to play one piece for us, Song of the Wind. Wait just a second, Ella, I'm not quite ready. Just a second. Okay. Mr. Chopin died untimely early, 1810 through 49. He lived in Poland until he was a teenager. He lived the rest of his life in Paris as a Parisian, basically. But this particular piece, this is a very famous waltz from Opus 64. You may recognize it. And he wrote this late in life at age 37. This is just 2 years before he passed away. He was sickly. It was dedicated to Madame Nathaniel de Rothschild, yeah, that Rothschild, who was one of his students for many years, a woman 20 years his junior, pardon me. And this is one of the ways that the Rothschild family, out of their wealth, supported artists. So they were an important patron for Mr. Chopin. And this was written by a mature and most excellent composer, the waltz in C-sharp minor. Some time ago, I just put out on Facebook, hey, I feel like learning a new Bach. What should I learn? And my cousin Scott, who's here tonight, thank you, Scott, said, you should do the G major Gigue from the Fifth French Suite. I thought, yeah, it's a good one. It's kind of a famous one. It's a good one. So, Scott, there you go. This is for you. You owe me some barbecue. This is a wonderful piece because Mr. Bach took a fugue, if you don't know, is like a round that grew up and went to college. You take a single theme and stack it on top of itself. This is a three-voice fugue, meaning I'm playing three pieces at once, basically. And it's tricky, but here's our melody. Ever heard that before, Catherine? Maybe? And then he develops that theme and stacks it and reorders it. And then in the second half of the piece, he takes the theme and does it upside down. It's called an inversion. So what was is now. Becomes it's upside down. And then just to make it even more upside down, in the first half we introduce the top voice, middle, and bottom, and in the second half we introduce the bottom, middle, and then top. So everything's upside down in the second half. It doesn't really matter, except it's just an interesting little bit of Bachdom there. So here is the fugue. I'm using my security blanket on this one because it's just too many notes. Okay, we almost made it through that one. Oh, it's like going on a long road trip and wrecking your car a block from home, you know. At least you can walk from there. I asked my dear friend Ross if he would share a song. And anything you'd like to say about the song, Ross? Sure. Yeah.
I was looking at music online, as a church musician does, and had stumbled upon this composer in the past. Her name is Elizabeth Alexander. She lives in Minnesota and writes both sacred and kind of non-sacred music. Is just a composer, living composer. And our sanctuary choir actually did a piece of hers like last fall or 2 years ago, and had stumbled across this one and some other texts of hers and just fell in love with it as a little solo. And as it happened, Paul approached me about singing at this concert, and I was like, you know, this would be a good song to learn. And so she dedicated this song to her parents, and she took the text from a 14th century Persian poet named Hafiz or Hafez, and the text is printed in your order if you'd like to follow along, but it simply says this: even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Even after all this time, 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 the sun never says to the earth, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Even after all this time, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Even after all this time, look what happens with a love like that. Look what happens with a love like that. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights
after all this time, a love like that lights the whole sky.
What a gorgeous song, huh? Oh, that's a delicious song. If you know any French, you know the word étude. Étudiant is a student, I think. Étude is a study, a worksheet, in effect. And studies for piano prior to Mr. Chopin were piano. But Chopin wrote studies where, like that, he asked the right and left hand to accomplish roughly the same thing, but he made music out of it. And his two books of etudes, Opus 10 and 25, are spoken of in hushed tones by piano students because they're too freaking hard to play. And out of the 25 or so of them, I've managed to learn one by the ripe young age of 68, so I'm charging right through them, as you can see. This is the Opus 10 number 4, which carries the nickname The Torrent, because it is a perpetual motion flood of 16th notes. A critic at the time complained, quote, Chopin treats the left hand as if it were another right hand. And true enough, everything the right hand, all the passage work the right hand does is just echoed then in the left hand, irritatingly. Because left hands, if you play piano, you know, are stupid. They can't do as much. Another music critic of the time wrote, the expression of a restless, fierce, almost savage, grim raging. The image of tossed up ocean waves breaking on a rocky coast, thundering and foaming, rumbling, flowing, climbing, jumping, crashing, falling. All this without a single point of rest. Yeah, here we go. Thank you. Thank you. I started working on that piece when I was 17. I still don't have it. But maybe 51 years just isn't long enough. The year is 1902, if I can take you back in time a bit. The Civil War ended 37 years ago. Wow. 16? No, wait, am I right? Yeah. Yeah, thank you, 1765. Civil War ended 37 years ago. That was within living memory for all the adults, right? I mean, let me take you back 37 years ago from today, and let's see how far back it was in time. Mr. Dukakis and Mr. Benson were running against Mr. Bush and Mr. Quayle. Wasn't that long ago, right? Big movie of the year was Rain Man. Did you see that? Paul Simon released a record called Graceland. Made a little money. You first heard the word perestroika that year. And the very first internet virus, the worm, landed that year, along with the first mention, although the internet was a little bit of a thing at the time, it was the very first mention of something called the World Wide Web in CERN. Don't Worry, Be Happy was a #1 song. Smooth Criminal, Fast Car, Tracy Chapman, that year. That wasn't that long ago, was it? Cheers, Murder, She Wrote, top television shows. Wow. So it wasn't that long ago. Imagine the Civil War not that long ago. So white people no longer owned and bought and sold to black people, but we remember when, right? And white people and black people still lived in separate parts of town. They dressed differently. They ate different foods. They went to different churches. They sang different songs. The cultural crossover was nearly zero. Perhaps a white family had hired a black woman as a maid, and she would walk into the white section of town and do her job and go home. But that was about it. The cultural crossover was almost zero until a man by the name of Scott Joplin wrote music that you just could not hate. You couldn't dislike this music. I don't care who you are. You like ragtime because it's so fun. 400,000 white people bought that was a lot back then, bought a copy of sheet music for real money with a picture of this black man on the cover, the maple leaf rag. And thousands and thousands of people learned to play the piano just so they could play it. This infectious music became a crack in the wall between the cultures, and the first crack, as far as I know. And so I laud this kind of music. It had a very short shelf life. Ragtime was only really popular for 2, 3, 4 years before it was started to be replaced by some other things. But it still lives, and people still love it. This is called Elite Syncopations, and we'll close with this. I hope you like it. If you don't, you're wrong. It's just, it's likable, okay?
Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to all our participants who played, sang, played the violin. It was wonderful to hear. And a big thank you to Paul, who ran with this idea, made it his own, did all the work, and made this thing happen. So please, a big round of applause. And also, a very big thank you to all of you who donated tonight. And I wanted to get up here just to tell you that tonight we raised, so far, $10,580. 2 walls in addition, plus all that will be coming in the online donations, which we will know in the next few days. So if you can do the quick math, we've had 1 wall up. We added 2 more tonight, and hopefully by next Sunday, we'll be knocking on very near to the 4th wall. So thank you all so much. And I will leave you with the last word.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I was hoping for $50, so, because I know y'all. No, I'm just kidding. $10,000. God bless you twice. That's just exciting. That's great. So, woo! If you haven't been out to Community First, stick it in your maps and locate it, and just go out there and just drive around and look at the neighborhood. It's so beautiful. Is there any trash on the ground? No. Any people lying on the ground? No. It's a neighborhood of people who are coexisting and getting along and just having it's the most beautiful fix for homelessness I've seen, and I've seen plenty that don't work, that cost billions of dollars, and this one works. It works. It's very exciting. People from all over the country send people to Community First to look at it and go, wow, we should do that in fill in the blank, and that's a true thing. So you got to be a part of that tonight. Thank you. Bless you. Have a nice evening. Don't freeze.